And I'll admit, I can be really stubborn sometimes. I have some horrible movie takes. Some of them I will vehemently defend. I'm the guy who refused to acknowledge Timothée Chalamet was really good for way too long, solely because my sister was obsessed with him. I'm the guy who swears that The Goblet of Fire is the best Harry Potter movie. But recently, I had a coming to Jesus moment. It involves the internet's favorite heartthrob, a dude I didn't understand for the longest time. I'll be honest, I thought I had Jacob Elordi all figured out. I was sorely mistaken. Mr. Elordi, I was not familiar with your game. Let's indulge. Let me make this abundantly clear. Can you really blame me for not being familiar with Mr. Elordi's game? He shows up in the kissing booth looking like he'd been 3D printed by Netflix's tall romantic interest generator. Perfect hair, perfect jawline, like some kind of algorithmic AI creation. Then comes Euphoria, where he graduates to emotionally unstable varsity linebacker with a skincare routine. And at that point, audiences pretty much locked him in a box. The tall, hot jock box. Hollywood seems to have a never-ending supply of these types in this box. And honestly, it's a box plenty of actors have gotten stuck in. McConaughey, early Pattinson, literally every guy who's ever been cast as the hottie in a teen movie. Once you enter that ecosystem, people assume they know your entire range. And to be fair, Jacob didn't really fight that narrative right away. When you lead with a movie like The Kissing Booth, people, I'm people, assume that's going to be your lane. And when your lane is paved with ring lights and Teen Choice Award slime, audiences get comfortable seeing you as a certain type. But even in Euphoria, there were these tiny flashes, these moments where he wasn't just playing Nate Jacobs the Menace, but Nate Jacobs the Mess. You could feel something happening under the surface, the simmering insecurity, the flicker of fear behind the rage, but the character was such a walking Twitter controversy that nobody stopped to appreciate it. We made the mistake a lot of people make with actors who start in glossy teen media. We underestimate them. We assume the prettiness cancels out the talent. Because here's the thing. We love to root for the scrappy oddball actor who looks like they live in a Brooklyn attic, but the tall, handsome guy, society assumes talent is the one thing he doesn't have. So yeah, I dismissed Jacob Elordi early on. Pretty, one note, destined for a lifetime of roles that involve leaning up against a locker and just being all brooding and bullyish. Until things started to shift. Something funny happened. Jacob Elordi did the exact thing that no one expects the tall, hot guy archetype to actually do. He got interesting. And it really started with Saltburn, a movie where he isn't the chaotic freak or the tortured villain or the guy about to snap. He's the object, the obsession, the sun everyone else is orbiting. There's a certain control of your craft required for a role like this. You can't overact when you're playing a person whose entire power comes from being effortlessly magnetic. There's this scene where Felix, Elordi's character, is giving Oliver a tour of the estate. The camera is enchanted by Elordi as he moves through his own house, barefoot, casual, completely unaware of how gravitational he is. He doesn't do much, but somehow you feel the entire dynamic shift around him. It's the confidence to say, I don't need to show you who this character is, you'll feel it. And then comes Priscilla, which is honestly the role that made me sit back and think to myself, okay, yeah, this guy's cooking. There might be something going on here. Elordi isn't playing Elvis Presley, he's playing Sofia Coppola's version of Elvis Presley. There's a difference. It's not a tribute act, it's a reinterpretation. nothing like the Austin Butler version. He's not doing the cartoon swagger, he's not mimicking the voice like he's auditioning for a Vegas residency. He brings this controlled, almost cold presence to the role. He seems fragile, there's a danger to him. It's one of those performances where the power comes from the pauses, from the space between the lines. And that's the twist. Saltburn shows he can command attention through stillness. Priscilla shows he can reshape an icon without leaning on imitation. Together, those roles crack his whole career wide open. They're the moment people, myself included, stopped seeing him as Nate Jacobs with better lighting and started seeing him as an actor who actually had something going on under the hood. For the first time, it felt like Jacob Elordi was being cast for something more than his height or his jawline. He was being cast because he could do something layered, something measured, something that was very human. Which is entirely ironic because his true breakout would be in the role where he's playing the furthest thing from a human, a monster. So here I am. It's November 7th, a chilly night in Chicago. I'm fired up. I am ready to watch Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein that just dropped on Netflix. Guillermo del Toro has always been an enigma to me, a cultivator of cinematic worlds that few can match. So that's exactly what I expected with this one, a brooding atmospheric adaptation of a classic. And essentially, that's what it was. Then we got to the second half of the movie, The Creature's Tale. What up to that point had been a fun adaptation, but a bit of a slog, completely flipped on its head. Elordi took center stage, and the movie got way, way, way better for it. It found its spirit, it found its pace, and it chugged ahead like a steam engine. And that was almost entirely due to Elordi's performance as Frankenstein's monster. Above all, he was able to put forth an indisputably sympathetic masterclass. To open the second act, Elordi's monster finds himself alone, abandoned in the wilderness. Against all odds, he befriends a blind man who sees the monster for what he is, a friend. It's a heartbreaking display of humanity, and even behind hours and hours and hours worth of prosthetics and makeup, Elordi's eyes still carried the weight and damage of a monster who has never been accepted by anybody. The second half featured scenes that had me crying out in agony for the monster, for the unjust treatment it faced. I was all the way in. This performance reignited a movie that had settled into a complacent groove. And by the time the movie had finished, I had seen enough. What did I do? Well, I did the only possibly thing any pretentious movie watcher would do immediately after watching a movie. I took to Letterboxd to declare Elordi an Oscar contender to all 40 of my followers. Because simply put, he was that good. He is that good. I feel like we're entering a sort of renaissance for acting in Hollywood right now. The 2010s were dominated by the superhero, the hulking big guy, muscles, The Rock, who was 350 pounds, 6'4", and still denied he was on steroids. If they were playing with their sliders in a sports game or giving themselves certain attributes, they were putting all of it into the muscle-bound testosterone and just a little bit of it into the acting. And the little bit of acting was usually enough to get by, especially in the 2010s. But now we're seeing a lot of those same male archetypes do something completely different right now. And it's completely reshaping how acting and the blockbuster is being perceived. So here's where I've landed with Jacob Elordi. And honestly, I did not expect to get here. Because when you look at the path he took, it almost reads like a trick. Like Hollywood accidentally cast the tall, handsome guy too many times, and then one day, he showed up and decided to actually be really good. I started with the assumptions, the tall, handsome guy label, the teen movie reputation, the idea that he was built for locker leaning and smoldering, not actual acting. And then came Frankenstein, the role that makes everything undeniable, a role that is going to net him legitimate Oscar buzz, rightfully so. At this point, the question isn't, wait, this guy can actually act. The question is, why did we assume that he couldn't? Because the truth is, Jacob Elordi didn't reinvent himself. He finally got roles that let us see what was already there. And if this is what Jacob Elordi is doing already, then the twist isn't that Jacob Elordi can act. The twist is that he's actually only getting started. Guys, I hope you enjoyed yet another Chich Files video. Go ahead and like, go ahead, subscribe, comment, whatever it is that you do on this platform that is YouTube. I will see you guys next week. Take care.